Good morning, everyone. It is Wednesday, October the 7th, 2020. It is currently 11:44 a.m. Central Time, and I'm still sitting here at Victory Baptist Church located in Ovalo, Texas. I think after this, I'm going to go home, eat. I may be back this evening. I'm kind of doing live broadcast this morning. The kind of things at home kind of got turned upside down. So typically I come here in the afternoon and here kind of for the evening service. We're live streaming. So I'm just kind of here doing recordings so that, people at church can listen to whatever they want to tonight. I think that's the way I'm going to go. Who knows? I may be back. I never know. Life, sometimes it's hard. Sometimes I have my plans and then life happens. You understand that. All right. But what I want to do is I want to give specifically to the people of Victory Baptist Church, to all the members of Victory Baptist Church, this is for you specifically, but for everyone else who listens to us around the world, I want you to participate as well. So grab a piece of paper. I'm going to give you kind of a Bible study exercise. I'm going to give you a little Bible exercise to do and for you to work on this evening. And I would love to get for you to, send me your work, what you discover, what your thoughts are. Your perspective, what you looked into it, what you discovered, how you interpret it, how your thoughts on it, and it will be interesting to see how close, how much agreement there is and how much disagreement there is. But let me explain what happened the other night. It was around 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. I think it was around 1 o'clock in the morning, 1:30 in the morning. When I go to sleep, those who know me know this, I cannot go to sleep with silence. Cannot do it, will not do it. My brain never stops working. It's always running. And so if I try to go to sleep in silence, it's like a million voices screaming at me inside my head, right? It's like I wish you could experience it, but it's like and no, I can't. I'll lose it. So I have to have something. Like if you want to torture me, just put me where I've got to try to sleep and there's silence. Now, I got no problem like in silence when I'm awake because I can just sit there and I can just grab onto one of the voices and then focus on it and start thinking about it. But when I'm trying to sleep, it's just all of this noise, and I can't even explain it. So I have to go to sleep listening to something, right? I'll listen to college lectures. I'll listen to news. I will listen to, I'll listen to Alex Jones. I'll listen to Rush Limbaugh, even things I completely may not even be in agreement with. I'll listen to sermons. I have to listen to something because then my brain focuses it on the one thing, and then all the other voices are drowned out by it. And then by just focusing on the one thing, then at some point I can ultimately fall asleep. And not only that, if I'm sitting there in silence, not doing anything, I lose it because I feel like I'm wasting my time. I think sleep is the biggest waste of time in the history of humankind. So if I know I have to sleep sometime, so if I go to sleep listening to something, I feel like I'm not wasting my time. I feel like I'm trying to accomplish something. So yeah, it's a whole neurotic, compulsive, obsessive. I'm broken in very big and deep ways. Okay, but so I always go to sleep listening to something. So on this particular night, again, it was not 2 nights ago, I think, we were listening to a sermon. And we ended up, for some reason, this is one of those situations where she was awake, I was awake, and then we kind of kept talking back and forth about the sermon. And I was getting frustrated with the sermon because he gave his kind of initial thesis, and about 40 minutes into the sermon, he really hadn't even addressed the actual thesis that he had given. And basically what he asked the question is, what does it mean to glory in the cross? What does that mean to glory in the cross? And I kept listening. I'm like, okay, well, what's the answer? What does it mean to glory in the cross? And he finally kind of gave some ideas, but I wasn't really satisfied with it. So this is what I want you to do tonight. I want you to work on this idea of glorying in the cross. Now, the text where we get this concept from is found in the book of Galatians. All right? The book of Galatians. All right? Galatians. Now, I want to, he ignored, I think, the context, but I want to go back and look at the context just a little bit. At least he focused on one verse. We're going to go back. Galatians chapter 6. I want you to really focus on this, starting in verse 13. Galatians chapter 6, verse 13. For neither they themselves who are circumcised keep the law, but desire to have you circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh. All right, so there's this situation going on in the church of Galatia. You got these individuals coming in, trying to have basically people return back to the Old Testament law. Paul is trying to argue that this returning to the law ultimately destroys the gospel. They're trying to bring in this false gospel. And he's still discussing it at the end of the letter, Galatians chapter 6. And he says, for neither, and he states this, Galatians 6:13, for neither they themselves who are circumcised keep the law. So those who are circumcised, they don't keep the law, all right? But they desire you to be circumcised, that they may glory in your flesh, that they can somehow glory in you being circumcised. But verse 14 is the key verse. But God forbid that I should glory save in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ, by whom the world is crucified unto me, and I unto the world. So what he is saying here is, God forbid that I should glory in anything. The only thing I should glory in is in the cross of Jesus Christ. The only thing I should glory in is in the cross of Jesus Christ. So what does that mean in a practical way? What does it mean for you for you? Listen, you are to glory. If we take this as being something for all of us, the only thing you should glory in, the only thing I should glory in is in the cross of Jesus Christ. What does that mean? What does that mean? Now, we could try to focus on that the only thing I should glory in, the only thing and in fact, if we look at that phrase glory in, according to the Merriam-Webster's dictionary, Merriam-Webster's dictionary states this: glory in means to feel or show great joy or pleasure because of something. They gloried in their country's success. You glory that your team won the championship. Men love to do that. Their team wins whatever sporting event, and they say, we won. And I always like, no, you didn't win anything. Okay. You were sitting on the couch with a bag of Doritos and a Coke. You didn't win. They won. And then they take some personal pride in it. Like, my team's better than your team. The Cowboys beat, okay, whatever. We could just go, all day long. And they, this would happen all the time at work. Their team would win. They come in and then you mock and bash the other people because their team lost. I'm like, you know what? Those teams don't really know that you exist, nor do they care that you exist, other than you watch. That you give them a TV rating and you buy their products, but they don't care. Even the players are not loyal to the team. They'll leave the team to go to another team for more money. So why? But no, it's almost like their identity. They glory in it. There's a bragging, a boasting, a joy, a focus on it. Well, the Bible says don't glory in anything other than in the cross. But what? How do we do that? How do we do that in a practical way? Now, the context seems to be people glorying in your flesh. And Paul's like, I'm only going to glory in the cross. So does that mean, do we apply this in regards to, I don't glory in what I have done, will do, can do in my flesh? In other words, I don't glory in my efforts. I don't glory in my works. I don't glory in what I've accomplished. I glory in what Jesus Christ accomplished. Is it about, do we just relate this to salvation? I don't glory in what I've done. I glory in what Christ did on the cross. I only glory, take joy in that, not in me. Is this about our works versus the work of Christ? Is that how we apply this? Is this about, well, we only glory, we only find joy in what the cross and not in anything else? Like, what does it mean? Are there other verses that we need to look up for cross-referencing? Right? Are there other verses? In fact, let me do something really quick. I'm gonna type in. I'm gonna do this really quick. And you should look up the Greek word for glory. You should do that as well. I'm giving you some things to do here. Galatians 6:14. If you go to, if you type in Galatians 6:14 in Google, look for the entry from Bible Hub. All right. Here's some different translations. Galatians 6:14. May I never boast except in the cross of our Lord Jesus Christ. They use the word boast. Almost all the translations use the word boast. So what does it mean to only boast in the cross? Does that change the idea of glorying in the cross? For cross references, they give us 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 cross references they have here. You should look up the cross references. What I want you to do tonight, members of Victory Baptist Church, is sit down, especially if you're listening if you're going to listen with your spouse, if you're going to listen with your family, just grab a notebook, just sit down and go, okay, guys, what does it mean to only glory in the cross of Jesus Christ? What does that mean practically? Like, don't make it vague. Like, how can you tomorrow, Thursday, when you wake up, how can you spend the day only glorying in the cross of Jesus Christ? Only boasting in the glory of Jesus Christ? What are practical ways you can do that? What does it mean, not vaguely, but specifically, that you only glory in the cross of Christ? How can you put that into practice? You got to first figure out what it means. So here's what I would tell you to do. Look up the word glory. You can use the Blue Letter Bible app. Look up the word glory. See if the Greek word gives us any insight. You can look up the other translations. The BibleHub.com will help you do that. It'll give you all the translations. It gives you every translation available. And that's free. It's going to give you cross-references. Start cross-referencing, and then try to write out. Like, have someone in the family take the notebook and write down, like, everyone comes together. Here are 3 ways which we can glory in the cross. Or first give us a definition. Here's what it means, and then give at least 3 ways in which you can 3 ways in which you can practically glory in the cross. You practically think you can boast in the cross. Practical ways in which you do that. First, define what it means. Hey, I'm only going to glory in the cross. Okay, what does that mean? Define it and try to come up with 3 ways, 3 things, three steps, something specific about what this means. It's sometimes in the Bible we have a concept, but the concept is so theoretical that it never really translates into everyday life. I want it to get to your everyday life. All right, there's more I want to say here, So, and the sermon that we listened to, they gave 3 ways which we can glory in the cross. And it was weird the way they did. He said, here's how we glory in the cross. Number 1, it changes our perspective about grace. So in other words, I glory in the cross because now I have a different perspective about grace. Number 2, he says, the way we glory in the cross is it changes our perspective about the world. The way we glory in the cross is we have a different perspective about the world. There was a 3rd point in the sermon, but neither my wife nor I can remember what it was, okay? And we can't find the sermon now, so I don't even know how we heard the sermon, but so I don't know what the 3rd point was. So that gives you some ideas. I don't even know if I agree with his. Well, I see where he gets it, changes our perspective from the world, because if you look at that whole verse in Galatians 6, you can kind of see where he gets that. But I don't even know if that really does that really explain what it means to glory in the cross? To boast in the cross? It's a phrase, it's a biblical phrase. You've got to figure it out. Now, I know members of Victory Baptist Church, you're used to this. You're used to your pastor saying, hey, you do the work. Other church, people from other churches are like, wait, so for tonight, you want your people to, I want my people to work on it. But I want them to do it together, right? So feel free to start communicating it in the Slack channel and the VBC chat channel. Start talking about it, members of the church. Your thoughts, whenever. Some of you may be doing this evening. You may start working on it today. I want to see that chat channel filled up with your thoughts, your ideas, and just don't get heretical. All right. Don't get heretical. And don't get offended if I say, I don't know what you people are talking about. No. Okay. But yeah, start working on it. All right. Anyone else, feel free to participate by emailing me at newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com, newsif@yahoo.com. I'm going to run home because, my daughter is bringing me Raising Cane's. Yes. If you've never eaten at Raising Cane's, I like it. So that's what we're having. So I got contacted and said, I'm going to get food. And I'm like, well, I've got one more thing to record, one more thing to do, because it's the key thing for tonight. So this is what we've done today. We've talked about a cussing in the pulpit. All right. That gives you plenty to think about. We've talked about MacArthur and the sovereignty of God as it relates to COVID. And then we talked about that. That raises all kinds of questions. And now, what does it mean to glory in, only glory in the cross? So really 3 very big topics, and I didn't really provide answers for any of them. All right. Well, what can and cannot be said in the pulpit? How does that apply to you and our speech? MacArthur took the concept of the sovereignty of God and tried to use it to excuse any personal responsibility as it relates to someone dying because of something you did. That seems questionable. You can give me your thoughts. And then number 3, what does it mean to only glory in the cross of Jesus Christ? 3 important subjects today. Start working on it. Start talking about it. Email away, newsif@yahoo.com. Church members, chat, share. Let's talk. Let's see where it all ends up. All right, everyone have a great day. God bless.